I'm Teresa Lampe. I am a former physics and engineering teacher, high school. And 3 years ago, received a grant to do after school makerspaces in the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And part of this digital portfolio work was done as a part of my engineering classroom, and part of it was done for our after school programs. So just want to share with you our successes and the things that we tried that worked and things that didn't work, and welcome to have any questions from any of you who maybe have also tried digital portfolios and maybe share your successes. So the definition of a portfolio is basically a purposeful chronological collection of student work. It is designed to reflect that student's development from point A to point B. Elementary teachers are already very familiar with portfolio work because, especially in the lower grades like kindergarten and first grade, where they show in large growth in reading and writing and things like that. Most teachers collect pieces of work, or the best pieces of work that show growth by students. And then in the end of the year, a lot of times that portfolio, which was always like a folder, is sent on to the next teacher. So the next teacher gets a feel for where that student is. Somewhere around late elementary, a lot of people don't use portfolios anymore. And I think it's really a shame, because I do think that we can show growth in students in many different ways by doing portfolios. My interest in digital portfolio, however, was the fact that when you have that folder, it's clunky and it's not great to transport from place to place. So I got interested in digital portfolios several years ago, in a way for my students to take their evidence of work with them when they left. So the two main type of portfolios that you'll see often are showpiece portfolios and learning portfolios. Showpiece portfolios are often what you see in artist work, where they'll choose a set of work that they think represents them and their best work. And a lot of times nowadays, digital portfolio for artists are presented for them to go to college. Their scholarships are based on that. Their admittance to certain universities is based on this digital portfolio. And there's ways that their different universities use different programs, but they have to present that. And it's a showpiece. Learning portfolios are what I'm more interested in for the maker movement, because I'm often looking for that learning from point A to point B and what they've learned. A learning portfolio can be one or multiple projects. It shows the work in progress. It shows progression of learning. And that's really what the portfolios we're going to be focusing on today are: learning portfolios. Common characteristics of these portfolios are they have work samples in them. By work samples, I mean either drawings or sketches. It can be pictures or videos. It can be calculations. It also can contain reflections of work. I'm real big on reflection, because in middle and high school, often what students learn, it's hard to see that learning unless the students reflect on their work and they put those reflections on paper, and they you can really show their thought process by what they're putting on paper as reflection. So I'm big on reflections, and I want to show you. This is what I use. We use this both in the informal makerspace and in the formal makerspace. It's just daily reflective questions in what did you do today? You know, what worked, what didn't work? What's the one thing you learned? Because I always want them to tell me, what is the one thing you learned today? Because every day you should learn something. And then what are you going to work on tomorrow? Because I want them to already be thinking about, okay, this worked today, or this didn't work today. And so this is what I'm going to do tomorrow to fix that or make it better. And I think that's important in making, because a lot of the work that I see in making is developing students' skills to direct their own learning and to persist in learning, all those 21st century skills. My grant actually is a 21st century grant. So the focus is on them developing 21st century skills, creativity, collaboration, communication, those things. So the other thing I do with portfolios, and this is not always a requirement of portfolios, but I think it's very important for student learning, is I always give students feedback. And sometimes that feedback is, can you try this? Or I give them directions because I don't want to tell them what to do, but in a way of kind of directing them in a certain direction with solving a problem. Or I can just say, you need to rethink this and start completely over, or good work. I mean, feedback, it can be anything. But I think students crave, especially in middle high school, they crave feedback. They want to hear from the teacher, am I doing it right? Or am I doing it wrong? What do I need to do? So I think feedback is important. Why do I use digital portfolios? Digitally, portability is absolutely fabulous. I have students who have several years down the road still have their audio and videos, and they show it to professors to show that they can do certain work, especially for my students who learn how to do SolidWorks. And they need to know that in college so they can show that they already have mastery of certain parts of SolidWorks. Ease of feedback, it's easy for me and I'm going to show you what I do, which is Google Slides. For me to just comment in Google Slides and put it in there. I also, sometimes I'll import the rubric into one of their slides and I'll show them where things are checked off and this is what you need to continue to work on. And this is one of the reasons I do this, because videos are so telling. And this is a Christmas tree Arduino project that we do. And it just shows that the lights are blinking. And so the project is working like it's supposed to. And it's just a simple, quick video. And it's just more interactive than a picture. Value of using portfolios from my perspective is it's evidence of actual learning experiences, performance beyond acquisition of factual knowledge, because what I think is important is going deeper into the learning and all those soft skills, 21st century skills, whatever you want to call them, which I think are so important for students to develop, especially in middle and high school, because future job and college success are going to depend on those skills. It also documents the design process, critical thinking, and problem solving skills in a way that you can't do with a test. Demonstrates growth, which was what I was talking about earlier, increases student responsibility for their own learning. And it does take training. I will be honest with you, the first few weeks of school every year, I have to retrain students. This is how you do this. This is what it looks like. And I often give them a format to start with for their first portfolio. If they've never been with me and have never done a portfolio, I give them a blank one that's a Google slide template that they can just build off of just to get them started. And I always think it is important, even as adults, I think everyone should do self-reflection and self-evaluation. It is a part of that lifelong learning process, and I think that's important. Other things students do like to share. I find that students are more apt to share their portfolio with their parents if they've been successful in doing something, especially for students who are not always successful in regular education. They can show their success through a digital portfolio, a robot that works, or something they built or something they made. And I find that students really enjoy sharing their work. Okay, so we're going to do a little activity. So I'm going to get you started on portfolios. And to do this, I want you to just find some paper around you. And if you have tape and scissors or maybe a ruler, and I want you to build a paper tower. And I am only going to give you 10 minutes to do this in. So we're going to see how well you can do a maker project on the fly. And if you don't have tape, try folding and bending and see if you can make that tower very tall. It has to stand for 10 seconds. It has to be freestanding, and it's going to be measured from the base to the vertical point. All right, so this is your chance to make. You have 10 minutes to both sketch and build your tower. And I'm going to start that time now at 1:16. So at 1:26, I'm going to call you back on screen and you're going to have to share, if you will, play along, share your paper towel. Any questions on what you're going to do?
So just using regular paper, you're saying?
Just whatever paper you have on hand at your desk.
Biggest tower we can build.
Yep, tallest tower you can build. And then I'm going to show you how to put that into a portfolio assignment. Any questions? All right, 10 minutes start. If you have any questions, I will be here to answer questions. Don't forget to sketch your tower. And I'm going to play along too. I'm going to build me a tower. All I have is this paper here, but it'll do. If you don't have access to paper, you can collaborate, come on screen and collaborate with somebody else in building a tower. A lot of making can go on with kids unplugged. You got 5 minutes to finish your tower. Oh, my air conditioner kicked on. My tower's not going to stand. In my classroom, I would have a countdown timer going on my Promethean board, but I didn't do that for y'all today. Got 2 minutes, guys, 2 minutes. Finish up your designs. So while you are finishing, I'm going to go back to show you real quickly my full version of this activity, paper tower. And this is one of the first assignments I do. And the reason I do that is because I walk them step by step on what to do with their portfolio, because a lot of my students have never done a portfolio, even in high school. And I really want to, this is part of my training in getting them to do portfolios correctly. And so that's my actual assignment for this particular activity. All right, so anybody need a few more minutes? All right, so on screen, I want you to share with me, if you can, your paper tower. I know I can see David. Do you want to share with yours first?
Sure. Did you say we could use tape? I thought you said we could use tape. No?
Yes, you can use tape.
Okay. I felt like I cheated a little bit or something.
No, you're good.
All right.
And mine was standing before the air conditioner kicked on. It's not standing anymore. But anyway, go ahead. So how many pieces of paper did you end up using?
I used 3.
Okay.
I had
Regular
bigger
paper?
design thoughts than that, but
Okay.
it goes pretty high.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Look at
I'm
that.
trying to turn off the
Blur.
background. Yeah.
Yeah. If you do the little 3 dots at the top right hand of your picture, you can turn the blur off. That's what I had to do.
It's not letting me do it in there. Let me see. I'll go to
Okay.
settings and background. I know how to do it there. All right.
Gotcha.
So
Oh, look
here's where mine starts.
Okay. Wow. 3 sheets of paper? I'm impressed. Okay.
It
So
was
do you have,
the most important thing was making sure the bottom one had a good good level to it.
got a good
'cause I
base
had
on
one
it?
that was on the bottom and it was tipping. So I redid the bottom one and made it a little bit bigger.
Perfect. All right. Abigail, let's see what you got.
So I made a little top, 4 pieces of paper, and then I think I have 2, and then I made kind of like a skirt down at the bottom to hold it down at the base.
Yeah, mine has a thing on the bottom and it
Yeah.
has a little piece because it was offset. So there you go. All right.
That's pretty cool. I like the top of yours.
I know, very artistic.
I'm not as creative. I'm just like, let me get it tall.
All right, Helen. What kind of paper did you use?
So I just used 1 piece of copy paper and I cut it in
1 piece?
1 piece.
Wow.
And I pretty much cut it straight down the middle into 3 pieces. So the bottom is kind of 1 piece and I made it into kind of like a cone with little tabs to stand. And then rolled up the other sheets to kind of extend it so it's a little bit taller. And then of course it was falling over. So then I took the top piece, which was supposed to make it taller, and I made it into more of a tripod stand. So it actually does stand for about 10 seconds. So
Very good.
I don't breathe on it.
Paolo?
So I have 3 pieces like this. Okay.
I like that at the middle section, how they're squares.
Yes, it's all is the same but different sizes.
Gotcha. 1 piece of paper?
1 piece of paper.
Very good. Very good. All right. Anybody else want to share theirs?
I sent a photo in the chat.
Ah, very good. Look at you. Somebody's a little more tech savvy than I am. Good job. There we go. All right, Cornelius, what you got?
I was trying to do like spires on it, but I was only able to really do 1. It stands.
How many pieces of paper?
3.
Gotcha. Copy paper?
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So why did I have you do all of this? Let me find my screen again. There we go. Why are we doing all of this? Well, it's just a really quick way to teach portfolios. So now what I'm going to get you to do is to, wait, hang on. I'm missing a slide. Oh, wait, hang on. Sorry. I lost my way. All right. So this is how I train students to do portfolios because I've tried multiple different ways and we're going to talk about some of the other ways that you can do portfolios. This just seems to work for students. Google Slides allow you to have 1 slide of information. And for students, that seems to work better because it's a confined space. And like I said earlier, I train them to do that. So you're going to open a Google Slide document and you name the document, always, again, training, first name, underscore last name, and then underscore paper, underscore tower. And again, this is training for them when they start turning pieces in. I need to know whose is whose and what it is. And so I train them to do the naming system. And then on the first slide, it should say paper tower, and it should have your name, just like this is a presentation. scan or take a picture of your original drawing. And this is the part that kids find interesting. I always had a scanner in my classroom. It was an old scanner printer that the printer didn't work. And so what I did is I trained these students to, I love them doing hand drawings. To me, there's something that goes on in the brain when you actually put paper, pencil to paper, and you start sketching out your ideas. And I love CAD, I love Tinkercad, I love SolidWorks. I think CAD programs are great, but I still think there's something creatively that goes on in students' brains when they put pencil to paper and actually draw. So I always make them do an original drawing, just a sketch of your idea, like I had you do. And I'm rushing you through this. I take a lot more time when I do students. And then you're going to insert that drawing into your second slide. And so that shows the design process. This is your thought, that what you did, and later I do a whole part about, you know, does your tower look like your original sketch? And for most students it does not, and that's okay. Because realistically what they thought in their head was going to happen is a lot of times not what happens. And I find that after they've done the design process a while, they get better and better about realizing what they can and can't do. So then I tell them to take a picture of the final built tower, just like Paulo did. He sent it to me in his in the chat. You're going to take a picture of it. Most students have phones. I even in my classroom keep the little digital cameras that have the little SD cards in it for students who either don't have a phone, or because I do have quite a few students who don't have phones. I also we have Chromebooks. I teach them how to take pictures with their Chromebook. And again, this is training in how to get them to document their process. And then you're going to insert that picture in the third slide. So beside that, you're going to describe your tower. So they give a description of the tower, just like I asked you to describe your tower. And they are actually going to put that in words. And then you're going to measure your tower. So we usually do that with rulers or meter sticks, or I even have some of the rollout tapes to measure your tower. And you're going to record that measurement. And this again is a documentation of your actual build. And those two things go in the third slide. And in the fourth slide, I always want them to do a few reflective questions. These are real light. When you get into deeper projects like robotics or Arduino projects, the reflective questions get harder because you're asking them more technical questions about their process and how they program something, or what it, you know, and I'll show you in a minute some example slides of what those look like. And what parts of your tower worked and what parts of them did not work. I always want them to compare and contrast, worked and didn't work. What'd you try? And what would you do, again, if you were to rebuild your tower? That's part of the iteration process. I am always disappointed in time constraints in a real classroom, because a lot of times I would love for students to do an activity and toss that out, put it away where you can't see it, and go through the design process again, knowing what they learned the first time around, and do the process again and do the actual iteration. And a lot of times, because of time constraints, we don't actually do that in the classroom. And I would urge you, if you have an informal program, that you're allowed to do that rebuild process and do that with students, because I think it's important. One of the things that's always important for me, because as a classroom teacher, I have to have some kind of rubric or checklist that assesses the student's work. We have, and I am big on standards-based. I have a checklist of every standard the student must master during that whole year. And so I have that checklist and this rubric match up with what they have to learn throughout the year. And I always give that to them from the beginning, because I want them to know from the beginning what is expected of you. What things do you have to do to meet the mastery of this objective, whatever that objective is. And it allows me to track their performance. And then also, again, I can give them feedback. And I do that a lot with portfolios in the beginning. Feedback in, you need to add this slide. You need to put this in a different place, and train them to use portfolios. Again, it's part of training. And so one of my rubrics, I just picked one. I have a pinball project. It's on the Scopes DF website if you're interested in looking at that. It's a really fun project. We've shown it at maker fairs. We've done it informally after school. We've done it in engineering class. It's just, it's a great project. But I have their evaluation is a two-part evaluation for this one because it's a rather complicated project and it takes a while to do. And they have to meet certain things with the design. They have to do SolidWorks modeling of parts of their pinball machine. And then at times, if we have enough time, I always let them 3D print parts of their pinball machine because it's always fun. And then they also have a portfolio grade. And in the portfolio is where I'm going to meet mastery of certain definitions that they have to have. So in their portfolio, they use the terms, like I take acceleration, and then I put that on a slide with the definition and a picture with that. So because I always think pictures help students learn. And then documentation, picture of your playing field with the sides, picture of your flipper, a picture of your button, and all of those different things. Daily reflective questions that they had to do. It's 24 points. Some people don't like that. That's a large amount of that because you can't make an A if you didn't do your daily reflective questions. But I think it's important to have that. And I'm running fast on time. This calculation of ideal mechanical advantage is a standard that they have to meet for that class. And so I make sure that that's in there. Did you calculate your ideal mechanical advantage for your flipper? What are the limitations of using portfolios? Not all teachers can see the value or how you can actually grade a portfolio. A portfolio for mastery. Some teachers say that quantity is better than quality, and I'm looking for quality of work, not necessarily quantity of work, but quality. Sometimes these are time consuming to develop and facilitate, which is always a constraint when you're a classroom teacher. It can be difficult to assess if you do not carefully plan your rubric ahead of time. Specific objectives sometimes get lost in the actual process. And then assigning a single score can sometimes miss the mark as far as the depth of learning. And I will be honest with you, my portfolios that you see here, it's something that's been developed over several years of doing these portfolios. All right, so
we have about 9.5 minutes left, Teresa.
I'll go fast.
There are questions in the chat for you.
Okay. Let me really quickly address this, and then I'll hit the. Are they going to be in my chat?
Yes. Do you give them feedback directly on their portfolio and
yes,
share the documents?
Okay. Yes, I can share your documents. I'd be willing to share anything with you. I do give feedback directly on the portfolio because it keeps everything in one place, and they're going to look at their feedback there. So I don't want the feedback to be somewhere other than that. And that's easy to do with Google. Google has a little comment button. You can do it on anything with Google as far as put a comment in there. And I don't know, Abigail, how would probably be the best way for me to share all my documentation with them?
We can, if you send it to me and Liz, I can make sure that it gets distributed. If there's anyone that wants direct contact, you can also share your email if you'd like.
Yes, I will share my email. I think I do this in the end. All right. Websites and blogs that people sometimes use for digital portfolios. For elementary, Seesaw is a good one. Google Sites, I find only really work well with professional people, and college students, high school students, for some reason, get lost in adding a page for each project, and it just gets really messy. They don't have a limited, anyway. I didn't have much success. Some people do have success with Google Sites, somebody could teach me a better way of doing it. Electronic notebooks, I use OneNote as my basic portfolio, my personal portfolio of information. Notability and LiveBinder are others. For students, I use Google Slides. After years of trying to figure out what works best, that's what I've landed on. And I'll be willing to. Anyway, I want to show at least a couple examples. Oops, I opened the wrong one. This was an actual, oh gosh, it's not going to show it. Sorry. That was a project site. I'll share that documentation with you when I share this slide. It'll have the live links. You can look at them. The pinball project for this student, I just quickly can go through it. You can see his reflective questions. He took pictures each day so you can see progress. There's an angle showing the angle of the pinball. I also do robotics portfolios, and I wanted to just show you this one because even kids even do snips of their code so that I can look at their code, and they do videos of what their robot actually does. And I find this to be very helpful in trying to figure out, what's going on in the classroom, because there's 28 kids and there's me. And then I always do a final personal project for kids because I find that it's important that they do one. This student actually did a hand that had movable fingers with fishing line. So it was a really good project. And so I find that, and actually the one, Matthew has actually used his portfolio to show his success with SolidWorks, and he can, because he did all of his design in SolidWorks and 3D printed his fingers. You need a scanner, and the other thing is Google has this weird permission thing. So I have the kids set up a folder that has all their pictures and videos in that folder, and they give me permission to the folder, so they don't have to continually give me permission to look at their pictures. All right, here's my email. I'll be glad to share anything with you that I have, and my success and failures. Obviously, I'm still learning. I learn stuff every day. This is just what has worked for my students. And again, I work with middle and high school students. So what I do for them may not work for elementary. My elementary teachers, the ones that do portfolios, do Seesaw. So that's just what they use. Any questions? I'd love for anybody. I know we have a few minutes, but anybody have questions or comments? Does anybody have experience working with portfolios? Helen, I think, did. She used PowerPoint with 3rd and up students.
So for me, I ended up just having them create one portfolio at the beginning of the year, just to kind of reiterate how to use the Microsoft Suite software. And then I think one mistake I made this past year was that I didn't have them share write access. So I only had read access. So I think this coming year, I'm going to make sure that they share it with write permission, so I can actually write directly on their portfolio. Right. So, I mean, it's great. Yeah.
I find that it's very helpful if it's right there on the portfolio. So
how do you do the grading? Do you just pull it up, per student when you
Yeah, I pull up each student, and Google does this thing where it'll pull it up, and I can look at it and make comments on it. So I use the comment tool a lot. Every once in a while, when it's something major, I will actually write on the type in something on their slide and put it in red and do my initials on it, TL on the bottom, so that they know that was me putting something on there. Most of the time it's just a comment. Paula, you used Wix?
Yes, my students create a website. It will be the portfolio during the project.
Do you do one per project, or do they have one complete year?
Usually, when I did this, was a full year project.
Now, do they publish that, or is that something that
Yes. but before publish, I check it every time.
True. True.
It was secondary school, so they were big, so not much problems.
But I think with making, we definitely have to really think in portfolio terms. Because then I think it's the only way to capture things like collaboration, communication. I think it's very important, the communication part that they learn from actually doing a portfolio and being professional, you know, when they're addressing what they've done. It's very different when you write it down than when you just talk to your friends or talk to the teachers. So I find that's a very helpful thing. So.
Yeah, I really like the idea of the portfolio for a number of different courses in tech, not just in making. And I really like the idea of kind of coordinating it all within Google. So thanks for sharing out, Teresa.
You're welcome. We just happen to be a Google school is how I landed on Google Slots.
Yeah, so are we.
Yeah. So any other questions? My email is here. I'm going to share it all with Abigail and Liz. And that way you can have access to it. So thanks so much, guys. I rushed through there at the end. And anybody want to share your portfolio that you made or did have time? We kind of rushed through that.
We have about a minute left. I just wanted to say thank you, Teresa, for your presentation. It was absolutely wonderful. Had such a fun time making the tower. It was really great. I love the interactivity.
Thanks, guys, for coming. If I can help you do anything, let me know.